Welcome everyone to this video. So today we are going to discuss about the CBSE sample question paper which they have recently released on their website. Now I know all of you guys are worried about how this term 2 questions are going to be and what sort of questions are going to come for this term 2 paper. Don't worry you guys, this video is especially for you all 12th standard students to get the idea or just go through the complete analysis of this particular question paper and you'll just get all the ideas how you are supposed to answer those questions. Okay, so let's start this video by first talking about the general instructions, the most important yet the most ignored part from the student's side. Now when I was a student, even I used to ignore this part, but let me tell you, as this is a new pattern which was introduced by CBSE, you have to go through each and every general instructions which has been provided. I cannot specify, this general instruction is really important for you all, so try to go through each and every point. So the question paper comprises of 35 mark questions and also you will be provided 2 hours to complete the entire question paper. Now all of the questions are compulsory. Even if you don't know the answer for certain questions, just try to put on the information which you have learn related to the topic which is being asked in the question. So just write your answer, what if that answer is correct. So never ignore that point, always try to attempt those questions. All right, okay, moving on, there will be 3 sections in this question paper and the total number of questions is 13 questions. So the first section, that is section A, comprises of 6 questions and that of 2 marks. Section B comprises of 6 questions again and that of 3 marks. Section C comprises of a case-based question which is for 5 marks. Now there are going to be different kinds of question where you will be provided a particular condition and related to that condition you will be asked a question, or sometimes the question will be direct questions, or there will be case-based questions. So in case-based question there will be a paragraph which will be given to you guys and the questions will be asked related to that paragraph. Alright, so moving on, there is no overall choices. You don't get overall choices, but there is internal choice which is present in this question paper. By internal choice, what I meant is, if you are provided this first question and if you are provided with one question and there is an odd or part and then another question is provided to you, so you have to answer either one of this question. Make sure that you don't accidentally attempt both of these questions, because if you think that you are gonna get extra marks by attending both of this question, God bless you, but I'm so sorry to inform you that you are not gonna get any extra marks for attending both of these questions. So try to attempt the question which you think you know the answer about and you know that you are 100% sure about the answer. Okay, moving on, the most important part, and also some students over the years have ignored this part, but I cannot specify how important this point is label the diagrams. CBSE is very strict about labeling their diagrams. If you are not labeling the diagrams, you are not going to get marks. Alright, so we are clear with the general instructions, so let's just dive into the question paper straight. Alright, so let's just start with this section A. Now as I said, section A question paper comprises of 2 marks questions, right? Now when we are talking about 2 marks questions, make sure don't write the answers in paragraph, because first of all it won't look neat on your answer sheet and teachers will sometimes get bored of reading that long paragraph. So try to answer your questions in points. Okay, provide your answer in points so that it looks neat and the teacher or the invigilator is able to understand what information you are trying to give. Alright, so let's just go through each and every question of section A. So the first question is talking about humans have an innate immunity. Now, we all have studied what is innate immunity, something which we are acquiring since the time of our birth, right? So what is it doing? It is basically giving protection against pathogens which can have the ability to enter our gut. Okay, so the question here is asked is, what are the two barriers that protect the body from such pathogen? Okay, it is a really simple question, so try to provide as much information you know to this question. So they are asking about what sort of pathogen have the ability to enter the gut. So you have to mention about microbial pathogen. You all know that microbial pathogen has the ability to enter our gut, right? Now, in this chapter, that is human health and diseases, they have mentioned about the 4 barriers, but here they're asking about 2 barriers. Okay, all right. So in this question, they have also gave the information about entry, that is the pathogen which has the ability to enter the gut. All right. So in microbial pathogen, related to the microbial pathogen, you have to give 2 barriers. All right, the first barrier is physical barrier, and the second barrier is physiological barrier. You all have studied in the human health and disease chapter the 2 barriers. Okay, you all know about these 2 barriers specifically. Now in my physical barrier, the first barrier, which is skin, we know, and also mucus. But in this question, they have specifically mentioning about gut. So writing skin in the answer will not give you, the marks. So try to mention mucus. Now also mention how mucus is working as a physical barrier here. So you all know in our gastrointestinal tract, we have an epithelial lining. Alright, you all know epithelial lining is present, and also in that epithelial lining mucus is present. So what happens whenever a microbe is trying to attack our GIT, this mucus will trap those microbes and won't allow these particular microbe to enter into our gut. So if you write this information, you're gonna get your marks. Alright, moving on to the physiological barrier. Physiological barrier, the first barrier, that is all of you guys know that it is acid in your stomach. Now you all know in our stomach HCl is present, right? Now if HCl is present in that extreme condition, the microbial pathogen will not be able to survive for a longer time. Alright, and the second one that you can mention is the saliva in mouth, right? So that is also will not allow the microbial pathogen to enter our gut. Alright, so let's just see the answer for this particular question, which you can write. Alright, wonderfully put together. So they have mentioned about the microbial pathogen which has the ability to enter the gut, and they are talking about the 2 barriers, that is the physical barrier, and they are explaining how mucus, the coating of the epithelium lining and in the gastrointestinal tract, and how it's helping to trap the microbial pathogen. And in the physiological barrier, they have mentioned about acid in stomach and saliva in mouth. No need of mentioning about tears from eyes, because in the question they have specifically asked about gut. So if you are providing all this information, you will definitely get the 2 marks. Now you can see the barriers are being put in 2 points. So if you are providing your answers in points, you will definitely get the 2 marks which you want. Okay, moving on to the next question, that is the second question of this question paper. So what is it in this question is basically a patient is admitted in ICU and was diagnosed to have suffered from myocardial infarction. Now, what is myocardial infarction? It's nothing but heart attack. Okay, so in this you are provided a condition, that is a patient is been admitted in ICU and he was diagnosed with heart attack. Now let's see what else they are telling. So in the condition of coronary artery is depicted in the image. So there is an image which will be provided to you, and that image is that of a coronary artery. And the question here asked is, name 2 bioactive agents and their mode of actions that can improve this patient's condition. So you have to mention the 2 bioactive agents and their mode of actions. Okay, so let's just see the diagram and try to understand. Okay, so in this diagram, let's see what and all is mentioned here first. So they have mentioned about clot, and they have mentioned about cholesterol, and also they have mentioned about reduced blood flow, which we can see in the patients which have heart attack. Okay, so they, in the questions they have asked, mention the 2 bioactive agents. So it's obvious that in this image they have shown clot and cholesterol, so you have to mention the bioactive agents and their mode of actions which can improve these 2 conditions. Okay, that is how to remove clot and also how to reduce the cholesterol. So in the chapter microbes in human welfare, we have studied about the bioactive agents, right? So for the clot, you can mention the bioactive agents, that is streptokinase. So streptokinase is the bioactive agent that is used. Okay, so for what does this streptokinase do? Basically, it will act as a clot buster and it will remove the clot from the blood vessels. Okay. Also, you can mention here that the bacteria Streptococcus is the one which is producing this streptokinase bioactive agent. To remove cholesterol, the bioactive agent which is used is statins. Okay. So statins is the one which is helping to remove the cholesterol from the coronary artery here. So who produces the statins? Basically, statin is produced from the yeast, that is Moniscus purpureus. So in the NCERT book, it's mentioned Moniscus purpureus. So it's really important for you guys to mention the Moniscus purpureus is the one which is producing statins here. Okay. Now talking about the mode of action, it's basically, what does it do? It basically inhibit the cholesterol synthesis and acts as a cholesterol lowering agent. Okay, so that is a simple answer you can provide in this about the bioactive agents. All right. So let's just see through the answer what they have given. So yeah, the 2 bioactive agents and their mode of action are, first they have mentioned about streptokinase. Who produces it? The bacteria Streptococcus. What does it do? It acts as a clot buster. How? By removing the clot from the blood vessels. Alright, perfect answer. Okay, moving on to the one which is statins. What produced by yeast? That is Moniscus purpureus. Very important, do not forget about it. Okay, what does it do? It lowers the blood cholesterol level by inhibiting the hepatic cholesterol synthesis. Thus, what does it act like? Blood cholesterol lowering agent. Perfect answer. You will get perfect 2 marks. Don't worry about it. And if you are putting it in points, you will get the perfect 2 marks. Alright. Okay, let's move on to the next part. So here you can see there is an OR question which is provided in this particular part. So let's just try to understand this particular question. So they are telling in this question that substantiate by giving 2 reasons as to why a holistic understanding of flora and fauna, the cropland, is required before introducing an appropriate biocontrol method. What is a biocontrol method? It is a sort of pest. Right, biocontrol method is nothing but a sort of pest which has been produced by organism, all right, and it is less corrosive. So they are asking What are the two reasons that you have to consider a holistic approach towards introducing this biocontrol method in a field where there is flora and fauna, that is the microbes which is present? So you can understand this is coming from the chapter microbes, right? So let's see the answer for this particular question. So the main reason is predators and prey's relationship. Now, for example, let's try to understand this. What are this predator and prey relationship? So, you all know in the field, if there is a lot of mosquitoes present, now the dragonflies will eat that mosquito. But if you are introducing biocontrol method to eradicate that particular mosquito population, then eventually the dragonfly, which is the predator, will also die because they are not getting enough food. So you have to, before if you are having a holistic approach towards that particular flora and fauna, you have to consider the predator and prey's relationship. That is this entire point is talking about. So mention about it. You can give the example of the dragonfly and the mosquito which I was talking about. Alright, putting it into a point, perfect. Second point, just explain about what sort of holistic approach you can put. That is by talking about their life cycles, or by studying about the the flora and fauna which is present in their cropland, studying about their life cycle, studying about their pattern of feeding. By all this information, if you are getting, with all this information, you can safely introduce any biocontrol method to that particular field. So perfect, you have to put these twin points and you will definitely get the 2 marks which you want. Alright, moving on to the next question. Alright, so we are in the third question. So third question, there is an image. There is a structure which is provided to you. What is the question? Just go through the question. So they are asking about identify this particular chemical structure and state any 3 of the properties. Alright, so there is an image, there is a structure. Now, the easiest way to learn the structure is basically just going through each and every structure on your NCERT book. That is the easiest way. Now, the second easiest method is basically just learn the functional group. If you are learning the functional group of these structures, I think you are sorted for your exam and you will be able to identify what sort of structure is there. Now, talking about this structure, you all know that morphine undergoes diacetylation, right? Morphine undergoes diacetylation to form what? To form heroin. So as you can see, there is an acetyl group present here. So it's obvious what sort of structure it is. Morphine. So this acetyl group will undergo diacetylation to form heroin. So this structure is that of a morphine. Okay, sorted. First part is sorted. What sort of answer you have to provide? That is sorted. Now the second part. They're asking what are the 3 physical properties of this particular structure. So you have to mention the physical properties of morphine. What are the 3 properties? The first property is that it is white in color, and the second property of morphine is that it is odorless, and the third one is it is crystalline. That is mentioned here, that is white in color, odorless and crystalline. Perfect. Okay, fine. Let's just move on to the next question. That was a really easy and direct question. Alright, here again a condition has been provided. There will be an image for this question and you have to answer the question they have asked. Alright, so they are telling a water sample were collected from the point A, B and C in the segment of the river near the sugar factory. Alright, now also they have mentioned about the different BOD levels from the water sample which they have collected, and the question is what is the they are indicating of, and also why the BOD level is reduced at the point C. So let's just see the image. Try to understand what and all is provided in this image first. Okay, so there is a sugar factory which is given, and there is a sewage treatment plant, and there is a sewage discharge point between the point A and B, and the water is flowing from upstreams to downstreams. Okay, so in the question they have asked what is this indicating of. So try to explain, and the second part they are asking about C. Okay, so try to explain the first part, that is what is it indicate of, with that the A and the B point. Okay, so in the A point the BOD level was 400, and at B the BOD level was 480, and at point C the BOD level was 8. Okay, so now you can see near the point A there is a sugar factory, right? So what sort of pollution is coming out of sugar factory? Organic pollution, right? So the organic pollution is the one which is being discharged from the sugar factory. Okay, so as this organic pollution is being discharged from the sugar factory, that is why at point A the BOD level is high, that is 400. Now moving on to B, before it is reaching to B, you can see here between the point A and B there is a sewage discharge point. Okay, so first of all from the sugar factory organic pollution is discharged, and here before reaching the point B sewage discharge point is here. So here before the point B sewage is being discharged. So that is why at point B the BOD level is 480, that is higher than that of A, because an additional sewage discharge point is there. Okay, moving on to C, that is the second part of the question, why at point C the BOD level is reduced. All right, so at point C you can see before reaching the point C they are undergoing, that is the water is undergoing sewage treatment. Okay, so what happens in the sewage treatment plant? Basically it will undergo secondary or biological treatment. Okay, so we have studied about this. So what happens in biological treatment? Basically an aerobic microbe will be released and it will form a flock, and it will reduce the amount of organic pollution. Okay, and that is the reason why at point C the BOD level is low. Okay, so you can explain that in your answer in points. Okay, let's just see the answer and see whether what and all I have mentioned is present in the answer or not. Okay, just see the answer for this particular question. All right, so they have mentioned about the water sample collected from A and B indicates the presence of high amount of organic pollution caused by sugar factory and also by the sewage discharge. Mentioned in the first point, perfect. Okay, moving on to the second part of the question about the collection point. See why the BOD level is reduced here, because secondary or biological treatment is being undergone in the sewage treatment plant, where aerobic microbes are grown into flocks, consume the major part of organic pollution, and hence reducing the BOD level. Perfect, a perfect answer for this question. All right, let's just move on to the next question. Okay, so we are in the fifth question, guys. Stay focused. I know you guys can do it. All right, so let's just understand this particular question. So here in this question they are asking, an ecologist is studying an area population A. So ecologist is studying this particular area, that is population A. Fine. Which is thriving with unlimited resource. So they have the resources here are unlimited. All right, the resource here is unlimited and the growth in this area is exponential. So that is the information this question is providing us. Let's see what happens next. So they introduced population A and C. That is, they introduced this population, B and C into this particular area. Now they are asking what will be the effect of growth, how does it affect the growth of the population A, B and C if all of them are living in the same habitat. Now A was having a lavish life, right? A was having the resources, unlimited resources, and they were growing exponentially. Fine. But then A was having the resources, unlimited resources, and they were growing exponentially. Fine. But then population A and A was having the resources, unlimited resources, and they were growing exponentially. Fine. But then this area, when different sort of population are introduced, survival of the fittest, right? You all have studied about the survival of the fittest concept in the organism and population chapter, right? So mention about there will be a competition between A, B and C population, and only the fittest one will survive in this particular area. All right, next question they are asking about what is the growth. How will be the growth? Now A was getting unlimited resources. All right, now A, B and C is introduced. So what will happen? That limited is being limited. That is, the resources are limited here. So what will happen to the growth pattern? The growth pattern will be realistic. All right, so perfect. You have to mention all this in the answer. So let's just go through the answer. So like I said, there will be a competition between the population for resources, and only the fittest one will survive here. And the source, that is the second point, as the source for the growth will be finite and limited. So what will happen to the growth of this population? It will be realistic. Perfect answer. So let's move on to the next question, you guys. Okay, so we are in the 6th question. Don't worry, keep up your spirit. We are doing good, all right? Okay, so the question here says that with the decline in the population of fig. So let's just write this down. So here they are giving information that the fig population is declining, all right? It was noticed that the population of wasp species was also declining. So the wasp species is also declining. So the question here asked is what is the relationship between the two, and what could be the possible reason for the decline of wasp. The first part of the question here is what is the relationship between the fig and the wasp. Now you know what is fig. Fig is a plant, right? What is wasp? Wasp is a insect, right? So you guys have studied in the chapter organism and population about plant and pollinator, right? So fig here is plant and wasp here is a pollinator. So what is this relationship called? Mutualism. So try to mention the relationship, that is mutualism is the relationship, and the relationship is that of plant and the pollinator. Fine. So first part of the answer is that itself. Now the second part of the question here is what is the reason of why the wasp species is declining. Now you can see here that the wasp species is declining, right? So how is this fig dependent on wasp? For its pollination. For what is wasp dependent on fig? For the food and the shelter, right? So if the fig species is declining, it's obvious that wasp will not get the food and the shelter from the fig, right? So that is why the wasp population is reducing here, because the fig population is reduced. Obvious reason you have been provided with the answer in this particular question, right? So try to understand the question and go with it. All right. Okay, moving on to the answer. Let's see if the information which I have given to you, it's provided in the answer. So they are talking about plant and the pollinator. Fine, perfect. They have mentioned about mutualism, very important, okay. If you have mentioned about plant and the pollinator, so try to explain what sort of relationship they had, that is mutualism, and what is the dependency of both of them. That is, the fig is dependent on wasp for pollination and wasp is dependent on fig for its food and shelter. Perfect. Second part of the question, the possible reason for the decline of wasp is due to the decline in the fig species, and that is why wasp will lose its resource and food and shelter from the fig which is being provided to them. Alright. Question 6 has an OR part. Okay, so let's try to understand this OR part. So in this they are talking about with the increase in the global temperature, that is the global temperature here is increasing. Okay, perfect, understood. Moving on, the inhabitants of Antarctica. Okay, they are mentioning about the inhabitants of the Antarctica. What are they facing? They are facing the fluctuations in the temperature. Alright, perfect, understood the condition, right? This is the condition based question. So there is a condition which is provided to here, that is global temperature is increasing, so the habitat which is present in Antarctica is facing the fluctuation in the temperature. Obvious. Okay, the question here is, out of regulators and conformers, which of the two will have better chances of survival? This question is definitely from the chapter organism and population, right, where they are talking about regulators and conformers. What is regulators? Regulator have the ability to regulate their body temperature. That means they can regulate their temperature wherever, whenever they want. But conformers cannot regulate their temperature. They have this particular fixed temperature that they cannot regulate. Alright, so who will have this better chance of survival? Because in the condition they are already mentioning that there is a fluctuation in the temperature. So regulators has the ability to regulate their temperature, so it's very obvious that regulators are the one which will survive in this area, right? So that part you understood. I hope so you understood. You better understand that. So alright, so second part of this question is, give 2 adaptations that support them to survive the ambient environment. What are the 2 adaptations which they have which helps them to support, give them the ability to survive in this extreme condition? So you have studied about thermoregulation, right? What is thermoregulation? Thermoregulation is nothing but controlling of the temperature. So if you have that adaptation, then definitely you will be able to survive in the extreme condition. Also, osmoregulation. What is osmoregulation? Osmoregulation is nothing but maintaining the water content in our body. Fine, perfect. Now the next part of the question is, give one suitable example. The most common, the perfectly put together example in the NCERT book is nothing but that of a bird and the mammal. Alright, let's see the answer, guys. Okay, alright, so they have mentioned about out of regulators and conformers. Regulators have the ability, why? Because they regulate their body with the fluctuation of the temperature. 2 adaptations, that is thermoregulation and osmoregulation. Perfect. Example, bird and mammal. Perfect. So, okay. So that is the end of our section A. So with the section A, you can understand what sort of chapters are more important. There is been human health and disease, questions being asked, and organism and population, and also from the chapter microbes. So try to understand or go through this 3 chapters perfectly so that you can answer the questions. So go through it perfectly. All right.